What's up guys, back with another video. Let's take a look together and see if we can avoid the Cobain tax and find some good deals on Reverb.com, our Facebook marketplace. Maybe we'll have a couple laughs together over some questionable listings also. So aside from Sonic Blue Japanese Mustang reissues and Kurt Cobain's signature Mustangs, Univox high flyers have especially been subject to the Cobain tax. Keep in mind that everything on Reverb is going to be more expensive than marketplace or pawn shops. It has to be that way with the seller fees. This one guy in Pennsylvania has a nice Sunburst Phase 3, but he's choosing to part it out, which is kind of an odd decision to me, as he must be in a hurry or is trying to squeeze out every last dollar out of it. He wants $419 for the body, $499 for the neck, and $179.99 for the control plate. He must have already sold the pickups. This is kind of weird to me because somebody would have thrown him $1,000 or more his way. Why not just keep it together? I must say I'm kind of flattered he screenshotted one of my videos about Univox high flyers. I love it. Hopefully somebody will jump in and buy all of it and then throw it back together. Maybe JQ, the world famous YouTuber, can pick it up. He will do it right for sure. He's a subject matter expert when it comes to these Univox high flyers. On Facebook Marketplace, I found what I think is a Phase 2 Univox high flyer for $700, so that seems like a pretty good deal. Kurt did have a couple of these Phase 2s in Sunburst, one of them notably used with its P90 pickups at the Rio de Janeiro show in January of 1993. The seller says that the body is modded, but I'm not really sure what he means by that, and that the tuners are janky, which seems like probably a common complaint. After all, these were built to be affordable Mosrite copies. And he actually says in his description that these are better than Mosrites.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Next up, also on Marketplace, we have an oddball here, but maybe it's a diamond in the rough perhaps. This one is a 1970s Sunburst Aria 1802T, which is very similar to Kurt Cobain's cherry red Epiphone ET270. I believe that the Epiphones were actually based upon this earlier model, which was already being made by the Matsuzaka factory in Japan. It looks fairly original with normal wear for its age. The seller says in the description that he had it checked out and was told that the neck is a little warped but it still plays. So that can be a little worrisome and explains the low price. However, sometimes a warped neck can be remedied by a pro luthier who knows what they are doing. I'm tempted to grab this as it's only about an hour away from me. Next up, we got another Univox high flyer Phase 2 on Reverb for the price of $1,883.42, and the seller is out of Italy. It does appear to be in great condition. However, I think that we can all agree that this is in the upper range for a Univox high flyer. I think he's probably content with keeping it and in no real hurry to sell it. The seller really doesn't say too much about it. I know that Kurt had a white Phase 3 high flyer with the humbuckers, at least one of them. And then of course he had two white Phase 4s without the tremolo that had maple fingerboards. One of them was seen in the heart-shaped box video. So next up, we got an actual Epiphone ET270, aka 1802T, from 1974. And guys, back in the 70s, you could get these any color you wanted to, as long as it was cherry red, of course. The seller states that it's in good condition, but there is a crack where the neck and the body meet. On one side is a thin finish crack, but on the upper bout, there is more damage with a larger crack and two small spots with finish missing. That's what he said. He doesn't really have great pictures of what he's talking about, but from what he's showing, it doesn't really look like a big deal. I mean, if we can fix Les Pauls with the head snapped clean off, I think we can remedy a little body crack. He says the back has a couple of nicks. He says that the upper frets have grooves from wear in the cowboy chord positions. And he states that the neck would be described as excellent except for small cracks down around the first 3 frets. I would probably wait for a nicer one or try to negotiate with him a little bit, especially if you're buying this to actually play it, because fretwork can be a bit costly. So if it's really bad, worst case scenario, it needs to be refretted, that's going to cost you some money. So next up is a lefty guitar, and shout out to all you lefties, because you folks need some love too. This one's a very odd listing. It's listed as a Lefty MG69 Custom Mustang 60s Sonic Blue, 24-inch short scale, Nirvana Tribute, and it's coming in for a price just under $4,000 US.
How did you come up with that number?
Guys, this thing has more red flags than the defenses playing against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Now, I don't claim to be a Mustang expert, but doesn't the MG69 body have the body contours for the belly cut and the arm cut in the front? So yeah, it looks to be a Fender Japan body, but it's probably an MG66, right? And that's not really a big deal, but they should say what it actually is. Okay, so the seller states it's a solid pine body finished in green Sonic Blue. Appears in person like faded surf green. Nitro lacquer finish in NOS condition with very minimal wear. Okay, cool. So it has a nitro finish, and apparently it's not a real Fender body. I'm guessing by that it's just a body that he got somewhere else. He says for the neck, it's a high-end, made in USA, licensed by Fender rock maple neck, featuring a straight 9.5-inch rosewood fretboard. And nothing wrong with a 9.5-inch radius, especially if you're a shredder, that's usually what you'd prefer. Although I think for the price he's asking, and since he's targeting Nirvana fans, I think he would have been better off going with the 7.25 vintage radius. And I know I'm being picky, but he used a white pearl pickguard instead of a red tortoiseshell pickguard like on Kurt's Skystang. And he doesn't mention which Seymour Duncan humbucker is in the bridge, presumably a JB, but who knows. The neck pickup looks to be a JB Junior or a Little 59. And for the cost, you'd think that he would have installed a Tune-O-Matic style bridge instead of the stock bridge. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's a nicely made guitar, but I think many Nirvana fans would stay far away for this for the price. So this next one up is a Francis Bean Cobain Telecaster for $3,242 US. And this one's coming out of Australia. And it's cool, but for me personally, it does seem a little creepy at the same time, if I'm being honest. Although isn't that like the mark of good art, to make you feel something? Even if it's uncomfortable, right? This creator is an amazing artist though. I recognize the name, he's a talented artist and a Nirvana fan just like us. So on the front, it's got the heart and Francis etched into it. The K record shield as well, that's a cool touch. It's got the Vaseline's record painted on the pickguard. Yeah, Kurt really loved the Vaselines. I had always thought that Francis Bean was named after the actress Frances Farmer, but apparently Kurt had planned to name the baby Eugene after Eugene Kelly, guitarist and vocalist of the Vaselines, if it were a boy, and Francis after Francis McKee, also a songwriter and guitarist of that same band. The seller states that the stickers are modeled after Francis's tattoos. He makes the wooden bodies by hand too, which is really cool. So from start to finish, you can see that there's a ton of work that's put into this. He doesn't specify what he used for the neck, but he painted it sunburst and then put the blue on top, which is a nice touch, nice added detail in there. It looks like the truss rod access is at the body, so it has vintage specs. And his name is Kristen Chapman Art. Hit him up if you're interested in this kind of thing. I'm sure he would make a custom regular Courtney Telly. Or one more to your liking, or your preferences if you put a deposit down. So this next one is kind of a rarity. It's a 2005 Fender Deluxe Series Cyclone 2 for $1,099. So at first glance, it looks just like a Duo Sonic with a Strat bridge and 3 single coil Strat pickups. But the scale length on this is slightly longer, coming in at 24 3/4 inches, like a Gibson Les Paul. They used American Jaguar pickups in these, which had 3 on and off switches, one for each pickup. This one is in Daphne blue, but they also made a nice candy apple red one with a white racing stripe. I actually briefly had a candy apple one of these in the early 2000s, but I got screwed out of it by a friend. Maybe I'll tell that story sometime. It still kind of pisses me off to this day. But yeah, I guess these did not really sell all that well. Probably because I don't think many shops were stocking them in the store, so you really only knew about them if you looked in the catalog. Or perhaps the people would have rather just had a Japanese Mustang reissue instead. These were made in Mexico, and being that this one is a 2005 model, it has the 60th anniversary badge on it. Alright, that's going to be a wrap for this one. Thank you for watching. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.